world we seem to be living in. We are just here now just to talk about My Mum, Your Dad, which we are loving. We are also loving Married at First Sight, two brilliant dating series on at the moment. We're all hooked. And I don't know if about you guys, but it's great because we get to watch it with our daughters.
Oh, I love it.
And
Shared
it's lovely
viewing.
to get shared viewing. I love that.
And
I'm always so impressed by the way that they are able to know exactly what's going on.
And what I like about both of them
fellas.
is they're dating shows in which you're seeing people of so many different ages dating. So you've got all of the dilemmas for different generations.
So, My Mum, Your Dad, we watched the second episode yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the second and the third episode.
Yeah.
Can we have the cast up, Mark? Might help us.
You can't find
How's
it anywhere
everyone-
now. It's not on one
I've got it
page,
on
I'm afraid.
Instagram.
Not on one
How's
one page.
everybody doing?
Put it this way.
What are they thinking?
I forgot that in the series they sort of do. They're not bombshells, but they bring in new people, don't they?
Yeah.
And
what's nice about it is they're not kicking people out.
No, that is nice. Do they kick people out? No. But one of the guys who was brought in, I can't remember. Was he brought in episode 2? But then or was it episode 3? He looks like a sort of slimmer and younger Ian Botham.
Yeah. So there was.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, but that wasn't until episode 3. So
I thought it was episode 2.
No, I think it was episode 3.
I think it was episode 2.
Today?
I think he came in.
Oh, sorry, no.
I thought it was episode 3. But anyway, so what have we had going on? Christian has had a massive crush going on, hasn't he, over the last 2 episodes?
Over Vicky.
On Vicky.
Now, Vicky, I've got a bit of a crush on Vicky.
Everybody seems to like Vicky. She's the girl next door. But Danny, of course, was the one who we thought initially her and him were going to get together. But we all saw that cloud go across her eyes when he admitted to having been unfaithful. Do you remember?
Well, not only across her eyes. I think the sad thing about Danny is he's incredibly funny. He's very quick-witted. I do like Danny a lot. But also, I saw the cloud go over his eyes about himself. I think he's worried that he's kind of blotted his ink pad with everyone.
So I felt really sorry for him when Christian, or as he calls him, one of the big players, that's how Danny described Christian, went for it big time with Vicky. And I'm going to be honest, right from the first minute, I haven't taken to Christian. Now, I could be wrong. He could be shy and he's overdoing it. His cockiness could be something that he covers up. Insecurities, I don't know. But what I'm just being given at the moment, I'm a little bit, I was a bit like, in episode 2.
He's quite a Jack the Lad. He's quite sort of... I tell you what's curious as well. I mean, because what's really nice is watching the way the kids look at their parents. And I'd have to say that of all the children, Christian's son is the one that has the poker...
He's constantly going like...
Yeah, and I don't think that we can read necessarily anything into that, but I noticed that he's not necessarily sort of supporting his dad.
No.
And he's perhaps watching it alongside the others and thinking,
But of course we don't know. He might be thinking, oh God, this is what Dad does when he's nervous and when he's shy. He covers up. He's a bit too much.
Melanie Morrison says he's full of himself.
Yes,
you said
but
it.
I'm being open because what am I trying to do more and more in life? It's not just judge people immediately, because look how many times we were wrong with Married at First Sight and go, oh, this one's that, and they're not.
But just to moderate this, just in case any of the contestants are watching this, we did exactly the same thing on the first series. And the thing is, nothing we say about anyone in this show is about whether they're a nice or not a nice person, because it's not about that. It's about the honest first impressions. I think all dating and all dating shows and all these kind of programs are about first impressions. And some people will match with other people. For example, I think Christian might do quite well with Maria.
Yes, I think, but Christian, but the problem is, like, Christian and I are quite alike, I think. We're quite sort of similar people, like, a bit like me. We're loud, we're show-offs.
Annoying.
We're a lot yeah, well, for some people,
cocky.
Some people like that, other people don't like that. Very sociable, all of that sort of stuff.
Bullish.
So he quite often, so I think that's why he likes Vicky, because she's quiet so he can shine.
Right.
And so I think he'd actually clash with Maria, because they would both be competing a bit to be, the main focus. I like Maria a lot. I think she's a good woman.
Well, on that, because on the first episode I was saying Maria would have been the one that would have held me at arm's length the most, but actually I found the session, that was tonight, wasn't it? The session where they had was he a counsellor or therapist who kind of got them to hold the photographs of themselves and look back. I don't think I'd quite paid attention to the nature of her relationship and her ex-partner coming out as gay.
And the fact that she's been able to
Yeah.
move on and be
Yeah.
friends with him, I think she's a really rock solid woman. That's what I think so far. We don't know.
And I think she's probably quite emotionally pragmatic. She did actually say, which I thought was quite revealing, or someone said of her, or no, she said of herself, maybe I'm not very good at doing the emotional chat.
Yeah, what did I say to the telly? I said, that's because you've been so hurt.
She did. She said it to the telly.
I said, did.
But she said it to the telly at midnight when it was off. It was really weird.
I talked to them when they're on the telly. I said, well, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
You've been really hurt and you're saving yourself, you're nurturing yourself until you can be sure. So I was very upset about poor Danny.
I'll read some of your comments in a moment.
I saw the pain in his eyes about Vicky.
Danny.
I really did. Yeah. But then, what's come along nicely round the side?
What has come along nicely?
Claire, and they are really connecting, and they have that similar. Sometimes when you put two shy people together, you get quite a sweet thing, don't you?
I got a little bit worried for Claire because when they were doing the pottery and it was like that scene from Ghost.
Awful date.
It was a very awkward date where nothing was said. And I could feel the kids were doing that thing where they were trying to steer them and guide them.
But he came back saying he'd had a lovely time.
Well, he'd had a lovely time. She'd had a lovely time. But they're very formal.
Yeah,
she was
because they're both shy, and like he says, I'm not one of the big characters. So they may unpeel like an onion, layer by layer, in a beautiful way.
I like that. But let's just for a minute, because I want to ask you guys who your favourite potential couples are, who your favourite men, who your favourite women are. Let's talk about David. A couple of big pieces of information came through from David, which I want to clarify. Did I hear him right when he said he adopted his 1-year-old brother? So a much younger brother he's adopted. That was an amazing moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And also he talked about the fact that when he was at school, he was incredibly shy. He was often bullied.
Stammer.
Yeah.
So this stammer explains a lot as to why he's quite stilted in the way that he talks.
I agree,
Which
Reece.
didn't do him much luck in that first date. But I love the two of them. I love the way Jenny now plays with him because, you know, they had that bit of a disaster date. She cut off like bam, no, you don't want to get married.
Yes.
But and more about David later because David and Vicky, we've got to talk about
Wow,
that.
that's what I mean.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Jenny's son, I am literally obsessed with Jenny's son.
Oh, it's very
Watching him cry when his mum was talking about the struggle, and when he said, I don't ever see her like that. I always see her jolly, I always see her happy, and that single mum thing of not being able to be sad because you're the only one there. Oh, it was just beautiful.
Can I ask a question? Because I think this show really speaks to and asks the question again, when is it right for your kids to see you as a parent emotional, and when is it not right? I mean, it's all about gradation. You don't want to see a parent suppurating in a corner constantly all the time. But I do think this show speaks to the fact that, like, that moment precisely when her son saw her upset and hadn't seen her like that, it did make me wonder whether it would have been more helpful for him to have known how she was feeling outside of doing a programme.
I don't know. I mean, my opinion on that is that with
Malachi,
your
that's his
children,
name. Yeah.
it's okay to show that you can be upset and sad because it's normal human emotions, but I don't think you lean on your children for emotional support, and so I think she's been really good with that. I was really surprised the other day at work. There was a couple of the younger people that work there saying that their mums, if they give an inch, they'll take a mile, and they'll be constantly phoning them and using them as their therapist.
If who gives an inch?
If these girls give their mum an inch, their mum will treat them like a therapist, constantly asking for support and going through all their problems. It's not fair.
No, but that's why I think it's a really interesting thing, because I think, again, we heard in one of these episodes, Danny's son talk about the fact that every evening, was it Danny? Yeah, Danny's son said every evening it's around dinner time, he FaceTimes, and we both kind of looked at each other and went, that's sweet, but at the same time, that's a huge pressure.
Too much.
It's a huge pressure on his son.
Too much.
So I think as a show, it really throws a spotlight on all of those kind of like pressure points.
I wouldn't say to my child, I'm lonely. No way. I would just get on with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. What was the other thing I was going to say about this show? Now, I noticed, Natasha, you were just saying there that it was very early on for Christian to get a little bit funny about Vicky. And
that's
he did.
what we were going to move on to next.
Because Christian got funny that Vicky started to sort of turn away from him somewhat. That he felt that they'd got on really well, And it did present in the show as being quite hasty, that he felt the sense of rejection.
Well, I was worried when the night when they'd cooked together and he went, oh, tonight was about da-da-da and tomorrow I'm going to fire my arrow. And
That's
I thought,
right.
oh, be careful. You're not going to fire that arrow a bit too soon. It's going to come back at you and take your nose off.
Like a boomerang.
And sure enough, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because she's very cautious. This is where men, too often...
Kimberly says, that's interesting. I'll just say, it felt like Christian claimed Vicky.
Yes, exactly.
Good
He marked
use of
her.
the word.
She's mine. We've all had experiences like that before, I'm sure. But this is where men don't listen, right?
I'm listening.
She had not had a relationship for 10 years, okay? If there's anybody listening here that is not very good at kicking off relationships, listen to that. That means she's the sort of person that isn't just going to have a bit of a giggle with you at dinner and then snog you in the pool by lunchtime the next day. She's cautious. She's been hurt. She said in the therapist circle that she had married because that's what you were supposed to do. She'd married very young. She hadn't really lived her life. And she's not dated anyone for 10 years.
Yeah.
He was all guns firing. And for me... the sheer joy that she likes Mark. David.
Oh, she kind of like me, because I like her.
David.
Well, I love...
I really hope that works out. She likes him because she sees he's good, he's kind, and he's loyal.
But I have a thought about that I'm a bit concerned about. David, I worry about David, because I think David might be the kind of character who never thinks of himself as potential partner material.
She'll have to push it.
I think a little bit like Danny, actually. I think they could end up breezing through this, staying in the friend zone, not because they've been friend zoned, but because I think they only potentially see themselves as being able to hit that kind of category. And I think David is incredibly humble. I love Danny too. They're my two favourite guys in there for sure. But you're right, I love the connection between David and Vicky, but I've got this funny feeling that Vicky's going to be more into David than David necessarily thinks he is into Vicky.
I think people will help along with that because Maria is her mate, and she went up to Christian. Did you remember that? Did you notice that bit? So how are you feeling then about Vicky? And he said, well, you know, I really like her, don't she? Well, obviously I share a room with her, and you know, obviously like me, she's still open to talking to other people now. Bet you bottom dollar Vicky sent her with that message because that's how women look after each other.
Who is the...
And his face, he looked like slapped tart.
No, he absolutely did. You felt the air exhale from him, didn't you?
I mean, you're not allowed to say his face like a slap tart.
He did have a face like a slap tart.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to say.
Oh, why not?
Cancel me.
He had a face like a jam tart. But it was the moment. Am I imagining it, or was there a moment where he almost chased her across the lawn?
Yeah, and
I mean, he was.
And I'm very excited to see the next episode where he says.
What?
I can't remember now.
No,
in the trail. What did he say in the trail?
I can't remember what he said.
When he says, when she's getting annoyed with him, and he says, I didn't want to put you under pressure. And you think, oh, God, that looked like a heavy conversation.
The problem for Christian is he introduced archery into the whole proceedings a bit too early. As soon as you bring in Cupid's arrow, it was not
just
good.
cocky.
It's
I think
cocky.
he's saying something like, oh, no, you did lead me on, like you did make me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, lead you on.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a house. They've been there 2-3 nights, and they've all got to find out who they like.
Yeah.
And it's true. It was like years ago. I met somebody, and I met this person, and I just moved to a new area, and then eventually we got together. And then I found out from the first day he'd met me, he told everyone else in the area that I was his girlfriend.
Well, sorry, I've missed all of this story.
Yeah.
When was this?
Mark,
I'm curious
don't
to know.
hold the thing up by asking me for dates.
I wasn't asking for dates.
But
were
anyway,
you 6?
But
Were
anyway,
you 10?
I
Were you
was
40?
I was so shocked by that at the time. But yeah, that's what some people do.
Natasha Tiramos has used a curious analogy. If he was a Labrador, he would have pissed all over Vicky's leg.
Yes.
I don't know. I think he might have humped the cushion.
No, because he was marking territory. If he was a skunk, what would he have done?
Well, look, you see,
Straight.
I think Christian is he's just quite cocky. He's got quite a sort
But
of.
is he somebody that finds it actually quite difficult and hides it with cockiness?
Yeah.
Well, we've fallen like this before when we've thought somebody is one thing and then actually it's revealed that actually
absolutely.
they're actually quite insecure.
There are many things. Reese, I love the fact that you've homed in on this. I love this too, the self-reflective exercise, looking at photos of themselves, describing who they were, what they were, and what their dreams and
what did
ambitions
Christian
were.
say? Well, I wouldn't change a thing. Because if I changed anything back then, I wouldn't be who I am now, and I love who I am now. Now, that could just be confidence. But we as Brits find it difficult when somebody says, there's nothing I want to change about
I think there's a difference between...
In America, we'd be applauded.
No, I disagree. I think there's something very different. In fact, quite the opposite. I think a lot of Americans are all about growth and evolution and all this kind of stuff. People who say, this is what I am, take me or leave me, are the most inflexible people to get involved with at all. Sorry, I'm not saying this is all that Christian is, but that's the first thing I get from anyone who says, well, this is what I am, take me or leave me. It's like, well, then we're not going to go on a journey together, are we? You're not going to change, you're not going to shift, you're just going to be rigid. And I think that's problematic. I think it's really problematic. Whereas people who look at things and go, oh, well, maybe I could have done this, should have been that, maybe have a bit of regret, have a bit of this. This thing where people say you should never regret anything, I think it's all right to regret. I really do.
So do I.
Danny and Claire seem alike. I can't remember which one's Claire.
Yeah, Danny and Claire are definitely going to be the ones in the pottery class. I think they've got a future.
She's very gentle.
We don't know much about the new guy yet,
very
but
fragile.
he will reveal himself.
Apart from let me just say a couple of things. He is the strange love child of Ian Botham and what's Bradley Cooper. It's bizarre.
Bradley Walsh.
No, Bradley Cooper.
Oh, Bradley.
He's got Bradley Cooper's nose. He's got Ian Botham. He's like a deflated version of Ian Botham. I keep waiting for him to sort of hit a 6 or something like that. I quite liked him.
Do you want to read some comments? Because I can't, because I've got these glasses on.
Yeah, I mean, I've read some of the biggest ones. The lawyer was an idiot, says Jane C. Which one was the lawyer? The lawyer? Kids should know. Oh, I like this comment here from Anne. Kids should know if you're lonely. That's interesting. I think it's important for kids to have some sense that you're an emotional human being. Otherwise, you're selling a complete lie. And in fact, I'm at 20 years sober this year, having been in sort of group rehab, family rehab, they do say actively it's wrong to hide emotional issues that are running through a family away from kids because then they don't know what's going on.
I believe that. I mean, we always talk very openly about when you've struggled with your mental health. We talk about the fact that we have rowed like crazy people. We talk to them about the fact that we were both lunatic drinkers. We do, but there's a difference between truly leaning heavily on your child and showing them that you are somebody that has all these different emotions, tries to manage them, sometimes fails, sometimes succeed, but leaning heavily, I don't agree with.
Sally Hatton makes a really good point. I like Andy. We haven't really talked about him. He is funny.
Yeah, he's
very
coming through.
self-effacing.
He's a sweetheart. But as I said to Mark and the girls last night, I think my very favourite thing about this show is the kids. I absolutely adore them. Yet again, this series, so impressed with how articulate, kind, decent, knowledgeable they are, and the way that they love their parents is just keeps making me well up and cry. I just think it's beautiful.
Maria P, I think judging by what's out there and how many men on here use women have no hope, as I feel men always look for the next better thing, social media, etc. Sorry.
It can certainly feel like that, can't it, for people? But there are many good men out there. There are.
I find it hard putting a face to a name when something first starts. Yeah, I agree. Rachel Shaw, after my parents' divorce, the worst part is that they're quite lonely, and I can see that, and it makes me so sad.
Exactly. We saw the pain in Claire's daughter's face when she said, you know, the kids have grown up and I'm lonely. The agony that went across her face, I couldn't bear the thought of putting my kids through that kind of pain and guilt, because it means you're never enjoying. I mean, my parents never, ever, ever say anything like that to me. No. But sometimes I just feel it so deeply, and just the pain of it is just unbearable.
But sometimes you would possibly like them to make a
sort of,
night, sweetheart, love you.
Well.
You might like them to open up a bit more. It might be a slightly different dynamic. Where's this? It would be a big it for me, and it's not the point. He is just confident, but hopefully they'll compromise. And Amy Fenton says it's all bravado. with Christian.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think we're going to find out
I think
more
so.
about him.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, guys.
for now, ta-da, my loves, and we'll see you tomorrow for Coffee Moaning.
Ta-ra!